Tell me about the beginning. How did you get your start?
Well, you're talking about the cars, or you're talking about...
Well, let's talk about Toby when he was young. Let's start there.
I am a third generation in the scrap metal business, and that's really where my start and my love lies. I love the scrap metal business. I've been in it for 50-some years now, and still go to work every day and enjoy every minute of it.
Now, how did this all happen? How did you get into this business with the museums, the cars, the ones that are for sale?
Well, it's just a hobby that got a little out of hand. You're sitting in a man cave on steroids, and one car led to two, two led to four, and it just kept multiplying. And it's been a fun ride with it. It's intriguing every day when you get a chance to come up here and spend a little bit of time with it.
All right, so when you walk into this museum, you're not exactly walking into a square room with a bunch of cars that are gathering dust in the corner. This is a very different type of museum.
Well, what really happened was this museum started with a blank building. We were in several different warehouses storing cars and decided we needed a legitimate place to store the cars. Then it became, let's make it an attractive place to store the cars. Then I have two real good friends. One of them is a retired architect by the name of Paul Maurer. The other one is an artist by the name of Jack Reese. And the three of us really went out to California. We spent some time with the folks at the Peterson Museum, who were very, very helpful to us, and some time at Disneyland, and they were very, very helpful, teaching us how to scale these buildings and to make them work. And then we came back and started with an empty building and started erecting walls and did it all from old pictures.
Now, what city does this represent? What town does this area represent?
Well, to the average person that comes in here, it represents small town USA. To those of us that know the area, it's downtown Spencer, Iowa, in the 1960s.
In the 1960s. Did you grow up in Spencer?
Not yet, but someday I will grow up. But I was born in Spencer, raised in Spencer.
Now, this town's had its trials and tribulations. There was the big fire in 1931, which took out, what, the entire block pretty much, right?
It took out about 4 or 5 blocks and was rebuilt in the Art Deco type, as you see in here. And it's just been it's really the largest community for 100 miles around, and it's been a good community.
Speaking of community, I hear that you are entrenched in the local community, that you are one of the few people here who really does reach out, and you've helped the local community, including by the lakes. And can you talk a little bit about that, about some of the things you've done, especially with the Maritime Museum?
Oh, I got involved years ago with putting a maritime museum together up here at Arnold's Park. And then just got that project about done, and the amusement park was going to be sold to condominium development, which we couldn't let happen. So a bunch of us got together and wound up buying out the guy that bought the park and saved it. So it's now a park that belongs to a nonprofit. We raised about $7.5 million, about 3.5 weeks.
That's fantastic. And I believe that park has the oldest roller coaster this side of the Mississippi.
It does. It's the oldest roller coaster west of the Mississippi. It had the roof garden in it. It had, when I was a kid, I grew up dancing to people like the Beach Boys. Big names were up here in those days. And that was the way we grew up, and it's been our youth.
We have so much to do here at the Iowa Great Lakes, everything from the amusement park to the fishing and the water skiing and the golf and the tennis and the millions of dollars worth of trails. But you're going to get a real tour of something unique, and that's Okoboji classic cars. Toby Shine likes to call it his man cave, and Toby, we're just blessed with so many people like him in the Lakes area. The original $7.5 million fundraiser to save the park, he was one of the leaders there. And every time you turn around, Toby's involved with something. This car museum today is used to host fundraisers for the Lakes Arts Center, the Okoboji Summer Theater, the trails. You have the fundraiser and you get the use of that facility to do it. So Toby and Sylvia Shine, the impact they've had not only in the Lakes area but the state of Iowa. You go to Iowa City, they're heavily involved. And you know, that's what makes this area so great. It's the lake, but actually it's the people and a lot more.
So would you say that in some ways this whole massive project represents a little bit of your youth that you're holding on to?
Absolutely, and when people come in here, it's supposed to create memories, and it does. I've had people walk into this place and say, I was born up there in that apartment. I used to go to Dr. Jones up there in that, and you know, it's the memories it created for people.
Now let's talk about the car collection, because you really have a full-time crew here that in some cases builds cars for customers or restores cars that you're going to bring into this area and all throughout. There's a lot going on here that people don't know about.
Well, I'm a lot like the shoe repair man with the hole in his shoe. They never have time for my cars in the shop anymore. But I'm very proud of the crew we've put together here. I think we showed you guys a cord that we did. That's for a fella out of New York.
In our shop we do restorations, we do the body work, we do the mechanical work, and the upholstery work for restoration of a car. Most of the work is done in-house. There are a few things that we send out the work for, but most of it's done in-house. We have 10 guys who are working in our shop, and we can take a car from a rusted, very rusted vehicle like a Cord on a 2-year restoration to becoming one of the most beautiful cars you've ever seen. It's actually a customer car, so I can't give names or anything like that, but it is an absolutely amazing car to look at. Most people will go through their life without seeing a car like this.
Absolutely.
In person. The Cord is one of my favorite to talk about. The Cord cars were built in Auburn, Indiana by a company that built the Auburn, the Cord, Duesenberg, and the Checker. The Cord was built in 29-30 and then discontinued and then again built in 36 and 37. These are hand-built cars. The one that we rebuilt is a 1937 Cord. It's an 812 model. That's the model number. It's designated to be a supercharged engine in that. This car is a Beverly, which makes it even rarer yet. We chose this car because it was a Beverly and it was supercharged. In 1937, these were front-wheel drive, independent front suspension, hidden headlights, and a supercharged Lycoming aircraft-style V8 engine in it in 1937.
Way ahead of its time.
Way ahead of its time.
We've done cars for Colorado, for California, for just all over the country. We're doing a Mustang for a guy out of Texas right now. And local ones too. But the crew we've got will not put out half work. They will either do it right or it isn't a project we'll do.
Now, from the outside, I mean, the building is fairly innocuous. It could be a warehouse from any other company. But when people walk in here, especially when they walk in and see this display, you know, they must have an emotional reaction. As you mentioned, some of them feel like they're walking down the street where they were born or raised. But there's a little bit more to this. First of all, there is a full bar in this museum. It's fantastic.
Well, when we built this place, we really didn't expect to open it to the public. We thought we would use it for charitable organizations raising money, those type of things. There is a bar, but it doesn't have a liquor license. It's used for catering events. There's a catering kitchen in here. Next week we're going to do a very special party that I'm involved in. It's my youngest daughter is getting married, and somewhere between 500 and 700 guests will be in this place.
Wow.
So, yeah, I say wow too. I didn't know how much it cost.
Well, at least you have the venue where you can have it held. I mean, that's fantastic. And your kids have grown up around these cars and this whole lifestyle.
Well, and I'm even more fortunate than that. Both of my daughters are in business with me. And one son-in-law runs our pick-apart type yard.
Wow. So, I mean, these cars, the very interesting collection, because it's not just one thing. It's not just muscle cars. It's not just classic cars. There's a real mix in here. Are you the one who picks and chooses what's going to wind up on the floor?
Yes and no. Our people make as many decisions as I do. That's part of our team. Everybody here is kind of like family, and you know, there's a few of our mistakes out in our back buildings too, but we'll eventually get them straightened out.
Where do you want this museum to go to? What would you like to see the future of this museum?
Oh, I just want to see it stay here and be an attractive show for the people that come into the area. It's still a tourist area. I happened to see on, I think it was Travelocity the other day, we're the #1 tourist attraction in Okoboji, which just amazed me.
Well, I have to tell the audience that what you're seeing on camera and the modesty of this man really doesn't tell the whole story, because you need to take a walk around this place and the variety of different rooms. We're talking about an area that has an old drive-in movie that is actually screening a film. And when you're in there, you'll notice that each vehicle has a unique license plate and they are accurate. I mean, there's some serious detail on all these walls. This is one of the largest murals I've seen.
Well, it is actually one of the I think it's the largest mural painted by a single man in the world. And Jack Reese did a fabulous job on this thing. He's taught me what perspectives mean, I think.
Well, you can take that literally or technically in this case. And the perspective works in two directions. So behind the camera, we're looking at the other end of the street. When you walk around here, you're looking at clouds and people and, of course, cars. And many of them are absolutely dead on. They are beautifully detailed. And that mixes beautifully into what's on display. And the time period really sort of rings true in terms of it being the 1960s.
Well, it was designed to be the 1960s. You said something about when people walk through those doors to walk in here. We've always said we cannot have any flies in here because people's mouths drop open when they walk in here.
It is phenomenal. Now, I have to ask this only because I usually ask most people, but what is your favorite car?
Which is your favorite kid?
There you go. And that is, by the way, the same answer we received from several other people who have amazing collections. Well, we really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. This is an amazing
Thank you guys
museum.
for coming up, and I just hope you enjoy not only the museum but Okoboji itself.